This is the homework solution for the first part of section 6.1, which was on organizing and summarizing categorical data. And the homework for the second part of section 6.1 will be on quantitative data. So let's go ahead and look at the first problem. So we want to take these frequencies for each gender of passenger in a Titanic and make a bar chart of the frequencies. Okay, so that's pretty easy to do. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this table and I'm just simply going to plot these numbers for each of these categories, right? So categorical variables, the categories will be on the x-axis, females and males, and how many of them will be on the y-axis. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball this. Okay, I look at the largest number is 1,700 roughly. The smallest number is 470, and you can make increments of 200 or 100. Either one will be appropriate. And just kind of use your calibrated eyeball and try to make the line where you think this number is. Okay? Okay, the second part is asking us then to look at the percentages. So we're going to make a relative bar chart of the percentages, then a pie chart of the percentages, and then we want to try to make some conclusions from that. So we go ahead and we take these frequencies, and all I'm going to do to get the percentage is I'm going to take the percentage of females, which is the number of females divided by the total number made into a percentage. So that's 21%, that's 79%. I'm going to go ahead and plot them. Okay. So this graph looks exactly the same as the other graph, although because the aspect ratio is different, it doesn't look the same, but it is. I've just changed the scale here. Okay. There's 20%, 79%. On the pie chart, it looks like this. Okay. And so what can I conclude? Well, we're just going to make some general conclusions. Notice that there are roughly 20% male and 20% female and roughly 80% male. So basically, there were basically 4 times as many males as there were females. So, the male to female ratio was roughly 4 to 1. Okay. We draw some sort of conclusion like that. If you wanted to, you could just come right out and say, the females are 21%, the males are 79%. But usually when we make a conclusion, we want to kind of give people a ballpark figure of what was going on. And so, to say that the male to female ratio was 4 to 1, or there were 4 times as many males to females, kind of summarizes the data a little bit better than giving specific numbers. Okay. So for the second problem, now we're looking at survivorship with respect to gender. Okay, so we're taking those same number of males and females, and we're looking at how many lived and died. And so I've already prepared the chart for you. And so we want to make a chart that's going to look at the percentages of each gender that survived. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to take that frequency table again, and I'm only going to focus on the number that lived, okay? And so now I'm going to compute the percentage that lived. So what percentage of females lived? Well, there were 345 females that lived divided by the total of 690 females. And you can see already from these numbers it's going to be 50%, but I just computed it out. What percentage of males lived? Well, there were 125 males that lived divided by 1,511 males. When you make that into a percentage, that's 8%. So you can see that if you plot the percentage of males and females that survived, 50% of the females survived, 8% of the males survived. So roughly you could say, again, kind of rounding numbers off, 8's close to 10%, right? You could say roughly that 5 times more females. Well, actually I can't say that because it isn't an exact number. We would just say basically that the probability of survival for a female was 5 times better than for a male. That's the way we'd have to say it. Okay. We couldn't say there were 5 times more because notice that's not true. The numbers don't bear that out. But the percentages tell the probability that you're going to live. So there's an 8% chance for a male, a 50% chance for a female. So we could say that a female was five times more likely to survive than a male. That's the sort of conclusion we'd want to draw. Although again, if you just want to be, plain vanilla about the conclusion, you could just say that 8% of the males survived, 50% of the females survived, and either one of those is fine. Okay, now we're going to look at the cell phone usage data taken from our class, and we want to make a bar chart of the frequencies, again, relative bar chart and a pie chart, okay? So remember I sent out this little memo saying that 3, because the data was coded, okay, 3 was one usage level, and that was when people used their cell phone between 6 and 15% of the times, and the level usage 4 was when they looked at their phone more than 15 times a day. Okay, so here are the frequencies. I just take these numbers, okay, and plot them. So here's 6, here's 25, okay. When I make these into percentage, I'm going to divide 6 by 31 and get 19%, 25 by 31, get 81%. There's the percentages, and there's the pie chart of the percentages. How could we compare these? Well, again, you look at the percentage, okay, 20%, 80%. So you could say that, you know, people in the class were 4 times more likely to use their cell phone more than 15 times as opposed to 6 to 15% of the time. Or you could also summarize it by saying that, you know, there was that most of the class had high cell phone usage, okay, used their phone more than 15 times a day, and, you know, 19% of the class maybe had, we'll say, moderate cell phone usage between 6 to 15 times a day. Okay, now I want to look at gender. So we're going to go ahead and take this data, and here you had to do a little bit of work here. You had to kind of split these up, and you found out that you should find out the frequencies are that there was one male that used their phone between 6 and 15% of the time. There were 7 males that used their phone more than 15 times. There were 8 males total. So there was 13% of the males in this cell phone usage and 88% of the males in this cell phone usage. Okay. When you looked at the females, same sort of thing. You counted up the number of females that used their cell phone. And let me see if I remember the numbers exactly. Let me go back and see this real quick. This is for the Titanic. Let me do this another way real quick. Okay, I know that there were 23 females, so an easy way to get at this real quick, just to figure out the number of females, because I don't have that listed here. So there should have been 5 females in this class, and then 18 females in this class. And when you converted these to percentages, it was 22%, 78%. Notice I have to plot both categories here for each gender. So I make a side-by-side relative frequency bar chart. Okay, the males are in one color, females are another. You can shade them differently, cross-hatch, whatever you want. And notice that there's not a lot of difference. If I wanted to draw a comparison, what am I really doing? I'm seeing if females are more likely to be in one of these classes than the other, and really there aren't. I mean, there's some difference, but it's not huge. It's not like the Titanic 5-to-1, right? This is 78 to 88%. Really isn't that much difference, okay? So we'd say that gender didn't really seem to affect cell phone usage. That would be our conclusion. We haven't actually shown that rigorously, but from the graph we can kind of see this. That cell phone usage and gender really don't have a very strong relationship, if any at all. Okay, so that's it for this homework set.